Hello folks, and welcome to the second episode of Return of the Rovers. If you watched the first episode, you'll already know that we are focusing on the tactic that I'm intending to use for this save. If you haven't watched episode 1 already and you wish to be redeemed, please click on the link that should be floating around on the screen somewhere around about now and go watch that episode first. What I would like to do in future episodes, once we've played a few more games, is to actually go over and review and analyse the tactic to see if it's actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. We'll look at heat maps, we'll look at positioning, we'll look at opposition positioning, everything, the whole shebang. And if it's not, we'll be able to react and adjust, or just realise how much of a hash of it I've actually made, and everyone can point and ha-ha laugh at me. Let's get stuck right into this then. Get into boom, etc. So I've gone with an unorthodox 4-4-1-1 with the central midfielders dropped into the defensive midfield positions. The idea for this is something I call the Gandalf Gate. You shall not pass. I won't even... You shall not pass! No. Where the idea is to funnel the opposition's attack down either side of the sort of triangle that doesn't have a top. Don't think that's a shape. And also it kind of has a side missing sometimes when Olsen goes on for these attacking runs that he doesn't come back from. Yep. The defensive midfielders instead of central midfielders. We've got wide midfielders instead of wingers to add that bit of additional protection because there's no one in the middle. I'm very aware that we do concede a lot of space here, and in the games that I've been playing so far we give away a lot of possession because of that. And despite the defensive midfielder on support, if we look at the description, saying he'll step into the midfield line and support attacking moves, does he? Now that may be down to the player I've got selected. Now it's Jason Lowe at the moment, but I do tend to rotate them. But even so, they don't support attack enough. That could also be combined with the mentality I've got set and multiple other things, so I can't entirely blame it on the role I've selected as such. But I will for now. This huge gap in the middle of the pitch is kind of built by design to allow the attacking midfielder in the centre of the pitch. Now, at the moment I've got Lawrence selected as a trequartista. That tends to change from match to match, depending on how much influence I need, and if he's being marked out of the game, I want him to roam a bit more, so hence why he's a trequartista at the moment. The forwards role, I've got selected as an advanced forward because he is supported by the attacking midfielder, but I'm not convinced that that's working for us. Now, Jordan Rhodes is a bit of an annoying player, really. He doesn't really fit any one particular role, so it's kind of trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, really. He doesn't really have the pace to be a proper advanced forward nor a poacher, but he's got fantastic mental and technical ability that allow him, as you can see, and as we already went through in the last episode, you know, his finishing is superior, but it's just the rest of his game that really lets him down. So unless the ball gets put on a plate, he's not going to do an awful lot. I've also designed the formation so that I've got players that can kind of slot in. At this point in the game, Blackburn is still under a transfer embargo, which means I can't sign anyone because of the way SI has implemented it. Thanks very much. So I kind of have to make do with what I've got. So on to mentality. Why counter? Now, because I've got the extra defensive shape in the Gandalf Gate, no, I'm not going to try doing it again. You shall not pass. That was better that time. Not great. In McKellen, I am not. The idea is for this block of players to kind of absorb as much pressure to absorb as much pressure as possible and then break with sort of relative pace. Now, whilst we're solid defensively, we haven't been great going forward, and we're very reliant upon opposition errors really allowing us in, so we're not creating a huge amount of chances. That could be down to the team shape I've selected, which is structured. The reason why I've selected the structured team shape is that I've got a lot of players in transitional roles selected, so I figured this would be a good way of utilising those players and leaving the central defenders to defend, and again the striker. I don't have that many creative players, and I'd rather stifle the creativity of one to make my team more cohesive as a unit. Ooh, lots of pretty words. So team instructions, these change match to match. If I'm playing someone who's playing a narrow formation, I'll exploit where they don't have players naturally, so the flanks. If they've got a particularly slow defence, I might use pass into space, but perhaps not if I've got Jordan Rhodes leading the line because he's not quick himself. I'll usually use stay on feet. I've got quite a lot of aggressive players in the team, and I don't like silly bookings or silly fouls or stupid penalties. Looking at you, Grant Hanley, and probably Jason Lowe. But that's pretty much it for the team instructions that I use. I'm not really a huge fan of loading loads of, just clicking random things. Oh, one of those might work. Yes, I'm going to retain possession and pass into space because that makes sense. And as for player instructions, I've just got one set up, which is on the goal. I say one, I've got two. Well done, you can count. I've got two set up on the goalkeeper, which is I want him to distribute it to the fullbacks, namely Olsen, because he's got the attacking mentality and he's not just going to lump it like Henley, or he's less likely to lump it like Henley, I should say. And also because the goalkeeper's kicking is non-existent, ta-da, but his throwing is pretty decent, particularly for the level. I've got him to roll it out, which, yeah, I get it. But when your only options are roll it out, throw it long, or resulting in kicking, you don't really have many options. So I figured if he can throw it, he can roll it. Simples. What I had intended to do was some live commentary of some of the big games, particularly the Bolton game or the Burnley game or any other game. Oh, I maybe should have mentioned that I actually support Blackburn. That would have been useful. Good one. Yeah, so that's why they're big games. I appreciate the local rivalries. But, big problem, I am fucking awful at live commentary. So, I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to do sort of match of the day style summarising of highlights, and then I'll cover sort of transfers as we go. Although there's not going to be any till January because of the transfer embargo. Whoop whoop. If I'm going to adjust my tactic, I will sort of talk you through what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, probably because my players are injured and I'm having to reshuffle things. And once we can actually sign players, I'll do a nice big old transfer update. If you like what you've seen, then tickle that like button. For the second time, I've been Matt, you've been great. Thanks for watching.